Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today I wanted to explore something a bit different from what I normally do by making a character to use in a TTRPG. And don't worry, with a few mods you can make this work in Baldur's Gate 3 as well, which I will link in the description below. Although I usually feature video games around here, this build concept was directly inspired by a series that is very near and dear to me, that being Warcraft. One class that has always stood out to me is the Dark Ranger, an archer that uses shadowcraft and necromancy to further enhance their skills with the bow. While the War Within gave hunters hero talents to augment their playstyle, I personally felt that it was a bit lacking in the fantasy. So with that said, let's dive in to create our very own Dark Ranger in Dungeons & Dragons. Before deciding on a race, background, or even a class, we must first establish what is a Dark Ranger. Let's read a few lore entries to give us an idea. A cunning hero, adept at manipulating opponents. Forcibly raised from the dead, the former Rangers of Quel'Thalas enjoy nothing more than sowing dissension and hatred within the enemy ranks. Dark Rangers serve as generals for Forsaken armies, as well as scouts and assassins. Like most Forsaken, Dark Rangers remain in the back lines, performing precision attacks and curses. While they no longer study nature, Dark Rangers remain some of the best trackers in the world. Naturally, most Dark Rangers hail from the Scout class, but many newer Rangers are former rogues who use their stealth abilities to act as silent and near-invisible slayers for the Dark Lady. So from this, we get a sense of the overall themes the build will have. But to really nail down the concept, there's a few signature moves that we'll need to keep in mind as we advance and level. For now, let's start off the build with race selection. Because Dark Rangers are classified as undead in the lore, I am going with the reborn lineage from Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. This will give us deathless nature, offering a number of features to allow us to be an eternally patient hunter. You won't need to eat, drink, or even breathe, and you can complete a long rest in 4 hours as you remain motionless but conscious. It also has knowledge from a past life, which will add a nice bonus to roles that we won't otherwise have expertise in. For backgrounds, I always prefer to pick whatever benefits come attached to them and just write up my own backstory for every character I make. Besides, being reborn means our background is just a memory from our past life anyway, so it doesn't really matter for the build. Since I want to stick to the lore of a Dark Ranger, I feel that something that gives us proficiency in stealth is the way to go. That said, Shadowmaster's Exile from the Forgotten Realms, Heroes of Faerun gives me everything I'm looking for. You can pick whatever works for you, just make sure it gives you a +2 to Charisma if you go with the 2024 backgrounds. Having Savage Attacker from Shadowmaster's Exile will be handy for maximizing my damage output. As per the new rules, it affects all weapons, not just melee, meaning we get to use it on damage from our bow as well. Now for the class, despite having Ranger in the name, I am actually going to go primarily Warlock for the build. Though I played around with other ideas like Gloomstalker Ranger and Arcane Archer Fighter, they just didn't fit the profile in my opinion. 2024 Ranger is too engineered around using Hunter's Mark, while the shots from Arcane Archer are just too few in selection. Therefore, Warlock has all the right tools for this build. For ability scores, go with this for standard array. 8 in Strength, 13 in Dex, 14 in Constitution, 10 in Intelligence, 12 in Wisdom, and 15 in Charisma. But if my GM is going to allow it, then I always manually roll for my scores to start out with. From your background, place the +1 bonus in Dex and place the +2 in Charisma. Let's move on to level progression. With all that I've said about going Warlock, I'm still taking Fighter for our first level, because having proficiency in con saving throws, armor and weapon training, as well as the archery fighting style is just far too important to pass up. You can roleplay this as having just returned to life with only faint memories of who you were before. You know how to wield a bow and sneak around, but not much else at this level. At Warlock 1, an unknown entity has made contact with you, compelling you to do its bidding. You still retain your own free will, but now possess powers beyond your comprehension. Take Pact of the Blade, allowing you to use your charisma for attack and damage rolls with your longbow. The rules state that you can only turn melee weapons into your packed weapon unless it's a magical bow, but D&D Beyond lets you do it anyway. So just talk to your DM to see if it's okay, because we no longer have improved packed weapon to bypass this limitation in the 2024 rules. For spells, take Hex for some bonus damage in the early game. When paired with Pact of the Blades feature to do necrotic damage in place of your weapon's normal damage, this effectively gives you the Dark Ranger's Black Arrow. Then with Charm Person, you can effectively sway targets over to your side. For cantrips, you can take Minor Illusion, distracting foes with Whispers of the Dead or images of ghostly apparitions, while Sword Bursts will let you emulate the Shadow Dagger passive if you get surrounded. Warlock 2 gives us 2 more invocations and another first level spell. There's nothing thematic to pick here, but Eldritch Mind will give us some solid defenses for maintaining concentration. You can also take Devil's Sight if you want to do some cheese with darkness, and Armor of Agathis can further bolster your health pool. At Warlock 3, we finally begin to understand the nature of our patron. The Undead subclass will give us Form of Dread, allowing us to take on an aspect of our patron's power. Maybe you were raised to undeath by a necromancer, a lich, or even a banshee queen if that suits you. Take Hold Person to let you manifest shadowy chains to bind your foes, or if you took Devil's Sight, then you might want to pick up Darkness if you so desire. Warlock 4 gives us our first feat for the build, and I have some recommendations based on what's available to us. Having Elven Accuracy would be ideal here, but we gave that up on race selection unfortunately. Sharpshooter would also be a good pick here, but the 2024 rules sought to nerf the extra damage gained from the feat. So I'm going with a half feat with Shadow Touch, giving us a bump to our Charisma score and 2 spells to use for free every long rest. With this, we can have both Invisibility and Disguise Self without needing to take the Eldritch invocations for them. Add Mage Hand and Misty Steps to our spells, then we can truly start to see our stealthy undead assassin take shape. Moving along to Warlock 5, we get some great stuff here to really complement the theme. Right away, you're going to want to pick up the Thirsting Blade invocation to unlock an extra attack, followed up by Eldritch Smite. With these in our toolkit, our damage output will finally catch up after delaying our Warlock progression. Thematically, Eldritch Smite can be your Wailing Arrow, a shot that literally screams as it streaks through the air to knock your target prone. As far as spells go, pick what you like, but Fear is the most fitting for the build as it goes together with our scary undead vibe. At Warlock 6, we get our subclass feature Grave Touched, which gives us a nice boost to our damage. It essentially removes the need to use Hex by providing more damage on any target we hit as long as we're in our Form of Dread. With our concentration freed up, we can now focus on using other spells while in combat. With Warlock 7, this is where I feel the build really comes online. We get one more invocation, but I suggest swapping out Devil's Sight for Pact of the Chain while taking Investment of the Chain Master. As per the 2024 rules, Warlocks get even more unique options for Find Familiar. Pick whatever you like personally, but in order to stick to the theme of a Dark Ranger, I'm gonna go with a skeleton. We can roleplay this just like in Warcraft 3, infusing our black arrows with energy to raise a dark minion into our service. And thanks to Chainmaster, we can command it to shoot an arrow using our bonus action. Then take Shadow of Moil, and you'll be a real menace at the backlines of the battlefield. Warlock 8 will give us another feat, and I am taking Sharpshooter. Although Shadow of Moil gives us advantage by making us heavily obscured, it won't prevent enemies from taking cover. Sharpshooter may not increase our damage anymore, but it will at least counteract half to 3/4 cover. This will allow us to stay hunkered down while we strike from afar. Moving along to Warlock 9, we get one more invocation. Taking Life Drinker will not only let us do more damage once per turn, but will even let us spend a hit die to heal. This is also the point where we get 5th level spells, and I recommend taking Hold Monster or Dance Macabre for even more thematic flavor. Not much to report on for Warlock 10, but we do get a new subclass feature with Necrotic Husk. We already have advantage on death saving throws as a reborn, and now we can punish enemies whenever we get downed, so it's a nasty package that can potentially save us. Warlock 11 will grant us our Mystic Arcanum and another 5th level spell. I recommend Mental Prison, which will represent our mastery over conjuring shadows to take control over enemies. Then Innervation will perfectly emulate the Dark Ranger's Drain Life ability, letting us essentially face tank a single enemy while we siphon health from them. Warlock 12 opens up another invocation, and the choice here is mandatory. we're taking Devouring Blade. In addition to attacking 3 times per round, we also get to cap our charisma by taking the ASI. And at this point, the class fantasy we are achieving here is pretty much done. So I am going to speed things along, because the only thing left to do now is round out our damage with some more multi-classing. Back to Fighter 2 for Action Surge. Nice for any build. Pick up Rogue 1 for sneak attack while taking expertise in stealth. We can roleplay this as if we are recovering our memories from our former life as a member of the Shadow Masters. Rogue 2 gets us cunning action in case we need it. Preferably, you'll want to use your bonus action to command your skeletal minion to attack, but it's nice to have options. At Rogue 3, I suggest picking Mastermind for the subclass here, as it provides a better use for our bonus action. Our skeletal minion may feel a bit neglected, but given our party members, the help action at range will prove far more beneficial. I say the more utility at your disposal, the better. Rogue 4 grants us our last feat, and since we're sneaking around a lot more now, Skulker is a great complement to the build. Rogue 5 will give us the Cunning Strike feature, which honestly won't be much good to us aside from the withdrawal option. Then at last we come to Rogue 6. Pick whatever you want for the expertise. And that about covers the entire build to make your very own Dark Ranger. To recap, this will effectively turn you into an undead sniper, striking from the shadows with some assistance from a skeletal minion. Thanks to the Warlock spell list, you can either opt for more enchantment spells to sow dissent among the enemy ranks, or focus on necromancy to raise your own army. Or you can even recreate it in Baldur's Gate 3 if that's more your thing. There's no Reborn race mod, but Ghastly Ghouls provides a lot of customization to help you with the aesthetics. Then there's Warlock, the Undead official 5e subclass, which seems pretty faithful to the rules. And of course, you'll need a mod to allow you to use a ranged weapon as a packed weapon. All of these are going to be linked in the description below. I've made this build in preparation for an upcoming campaign I will be part of, and I am really looking forward to showing it off. So if you want to give it a try yourself, do let me know how things go for you. This is the first iteration of the build, so it might need some fine-tuning. And if you've made it this far, thank you for sticking around. This is the first time I've ever done a video like this, but I didn't want to make a separate channel for it. I just want this to be a place where I can talk about games that I'm passionate about, including those of the tabletop variety. So if you've enjoyed the content, then consider subscribing if you're new around here. Until next time, stay safe and comfy.